Well, my next guests are an award-winning husband and wife team who have written over 70 works of accurate historical fiction. They've got more than 35 million copies in print in 30 different languages. Their best-selling Zion Covenant and Zion Chronicles, that series are set during a rise of fascism and the founding of Israel. But they couldn't be more timely as they are today. Enjoy my conversation with Bodie and Brock Thoene. Welcome. So good to have you. It is such a pleasure. It's a little mind-boggling. You know, you guys have written more books than J.K. Rowling, who does the Harry Potter series.
A few.
I mean, it's really stunning. How long have you been writing as a couple?
Well, forever. We've been married 54 years this Christmas season.
Congratulations.
And Gates of Zion, which was the first book in the Zion Chronicles about the rebirth of Israel, was published in 1985. So that's about 40 years.
You know, the thing that I find interesting, you talk about in the book Zion series, it's about the rise of fascism and what happened, the attacks against the Jewish people. Did you realize that you would be writing about something that now is front and center almost every day in the newspaper?
You know, the most difficult thing about this now, today, is we never did imagine that it would happen again, that it could happen again. I mean, you know, in our early days as writers, in my early days, I worked with Mel Shavelson, who was with Bat Jack Productions, John Wayne, and Mel did a movie called Cast a Giant Shadow. And at one point, Mel said to me, you know, what do you want to write more than anything? And I said, I would love to write this story about the rebirth of Israel as a nation. And he said, you know, you just really need to do that. And then that was reconfirmed by, actually by John Wayne himself.
You guys knew John Wayne.
Oh, yes,
That must have been an amazing experience.
Well, this is one of those examples of God opening doors that you didn't even know were in the hallway. I mean, it's nothing that I anticipated. Both Brock and I are from a little tiny town by Bakersfield, California, and I wrote for Western Horseman magazine, and I did a story about Duke's stuntman, Chuck Roberson, and wrote a book about that. But Duke loved the story, and so I got hired right at the end of his life, and God just, you know, brought us in. And I mean, it was very miraculous the way that happened. And I think God was preparing us to write these books because we worked with, you know, screenwriters who had, you know, a shelf full of awards, Oscars, and they would say to me, Bodie, you're not doing this correctly. You need to, you know, you need to work on it. So I was young in my 20s, and God just opened that door and showed me how to write. So we can give those guys the movies you love. Yeah, we can give them the credit.
You know, when I think about you talked about the birth of Israel. You were able to write books that explained what happened, how it happened. There's no explanation for the rebirth of Israel other than God intervened to bring his people back to his land. We're seeing now such a horrific hate toward Israel and the Jewish people. Brock, I mean, how do we even start pushing back against
dealing with it? Yeah. Well, it has everything to do with why we want the books that were written some time ago to come to the forefront again. We believe that there's a generation, perhaps even two generations now, that don't know why it was absolutely essential for Israel to exist and all of the miracles, as you say, that were required for it to exist again, and the survival of all of the wars, not just the War of Independence in 1948, but all the ones that have followed up to present day for it to continue to exist. And to that end, we have a foundation called the Shiloh Light Foundation, which we're very grateful has been supported by the Mission Navigators Fund. They're helping us get the books out there again to re-release them, because our motto has always been truth through history and history through fiction. Because if readers will engage with the characters, then they will learn things where they wouldn't pick up a dry history book perhaps and study it. But if they engage with the characters in an accurately written historical novel, then they will learn the history that they need to learn. And to that end, I see Bodie's picked up. We have a gift for you, sir.
Thank
we
you.
would like to recognize you as an honorary member of
nice.
the Mission Navigator Foundation.
Thank you.
As it says, promoting conservative Judeo-Christian programs as you do, and being part of our addressing anti-Semitism in the U.S. today and around the world.
Thank you very, very much. I'm honored and deeply appreciate this.
Pleasure.
We hear the term fascist. It's thrown out and described to people, and I'm thinking, you know, I studied the various political systems, including fascism, both in high school and college.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking most Americans don't have a clue
They don't.
what a fascist is.
No
So what
idea.
is a fascist, and what is it that Americans are missing when that term gets tossed out there?
Well, sorry?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
It's a real failure of education, obviously, and I can summarize that with a story. We were on a book tour, and we would always go introduce ourselves to the people at the counter, and I was carrying a copy of one of the books, and the young woman, very well dressed, very well spoken, apparently college educated, looked at the book cover and said, "That looks interesting. What's it about?" And I said, "It's about the rebirth of Israel." And she got this puzzled look on her face and said, "Hasn't Israel always been a nation?" Now, when I tell you that that conversation took place about 30 years ago, that sort of emphasizes the need to get the word out there again now.
And we're finding as these books get in the hands of young people, college or high school, a lot of homeschool people, people are learning the history. And that goes back again to our origins as writers, where John Wayne said to me, you can tell people what they need to hear if you put it in a good story. And so that was our heart, and that was our goal right from the very beginning, is to put the actual history, interviewed, hundreds of people who actually lived through it, the people who lived through the rebirth of Israel as a nation. And the drama of that is just really unbelievable. I mean, it's something that people don't get a hold of, nor do they understand how Germany fell so far from being a Christian nation to being absolutely taken over by a dictator. And they were a nation of law. Even as fascists, they were people who created laws to keep a Jew off of a college campus, for instance, to banish Jewish professors. I mean, anti-Semitism was an integral part of the fascism. It was.
People don't realize that the connection is spiritual as well. Haj Amin Husseini, who was the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem in the 1930s and 40s, his proto-terrorists, the original terrorists from that region, were trained by Nazi SS. We say, same demons, different bodies.
If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll consider clicking the subscribe button below and the notification bell next to it so you don't miss any of our future videos when they go up online.